and welcome to the introduction to Threat-Oriented Person Screening Integrated System. Quite a mouthful. In short, we call it TOPSIS. Now to get started, let me first share with you about Achievers Bank. Okay. Now this webinar is hosted by achieversbank.sg. It is a learning platform dedicated to helping people build skills that can compound over time. There are more upcoming webinars and courses on the website, so do look out for it. Just check out the website, achieversbank.sg, where you register for these webinars. Now, next, let me share a bit about myself. I am currently the Director, Principal Consultant, and Trainer with Security 4.0. I have more than 25 years of experience in the security industry. I am currently also a young trainer with Security Industry Institute, Temasek Polytechnic. Now, back in 2018, I have the opportunity to attend a TOPSIS program conducted by Center for Protective Security, a department under the Singapore Police Force. So that's how I first come to know about TOPSIS. And in that year, I also have the opportunity to help implement TOPSIS at one of the largest critical infrastructures in Singapore. And I helped the organization to win a TOPSIS award in 2019. Since then, I have also helped a few other organizations to implement TOPSIS program, and I am currently also conducting TOPSIS training at SII. So to get connected with me, you can go to the LinkedIn and search on my name, Dex Xuan, or you can scan the QR code here. So let's get started. Let me just switch to my screen. Okay, here. Okay, I hope you guys can see my screen. If any one of you got problem, just actually you can type inside the chat or the question there. Okay, now this is the agenda for this evening. I'm going to start off with introduction. What is TOPSIS? Then I'll move on into why do we want to implement TOPSIS, and I will share more about what exactly is TOPSIS and how it works, and some of the key components. And lastly, I also talk about this thing called TTI's telltale indicators. How do we detect telltale indicators? Now, the telltale indicators is one of the key important elements within this TOPSIS program. That's why I will cover a bit more about this TTI today. So let's jump in. Now, to get started on this TOPSIS, let me share with you one example of a TOPSIS that has been implemented here in Singapore. I think most of you are based in Singapore. I can see, let me see, I think most of you guys here today are from Singapore. Yep, I think so. Okay, all your names, okay, some familiar names. But I can see most of you are based in Singapore. Now, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with this organization called Gardens by the Bay. Now, this is a screen grab I took from the CNA. As you can see on the screen here, what it says is it takes a whole kampong tourist hotspots adopt police framework on security with holiday season in full swing. So now one of the keywords here is the police framework. Now, this police framework actually refers to this TOPSIS program that we are talking about today. And you look at the smaller words below there, it actually mentioned the TOPSIS program, train security personnel and ground staff okay, at some crowded establishment. Right. So this program is actually rolled out by SPF. SPF stands for Singapore Police Force. Okay. Now, it is a program, they call it an enhancement program, basically to boost security, especially in high footfall area at festive season, like the upcoming festive events, Lunar Chinese New Year, there will be a lot of crowds, for example, at some of the crowded places like Chinatown, right? So this program will be very suitable for these locations. Now, how this works is the TOPSIS program trains both the security and ground staff. Now, the ground staff will be referred to people including the frontline personnel like ticketing, customer service, even the contractors. Contractors, example, cleaners, technicians, people that walk around who may be more familiar with the environment, with the workplace. Okay. It's like they're working there day in, day out, so they are kind of like familiar with the place. Okay. Sometimes we call it the like long-term contractors or term contractors. Okay. Now, they train them to help detect. So one of the keywords is detect. Detect anomalies, odd behavior, suspicious items, and report them. Okay, and escalate as needed. So you can see here they are like the eyes and ears on the ground. They train them to be the eyes and ears. Okay, so Gardens by the Bay is one of those organizations. So there are of course many more who have already implemented this TOPSIS program. And besides stepping out the patrols by the security, the staff numbers, they have a lot of staff on the ground. They all act as the eyes and ears. Then we move around the compound when they are serving the customers, they're attending to customers' needs. They actually also passively looking out for suspicious behavior. Okay. Now, so this situational awareness will actually raise the security awareness of the whole environment and make it safer. Now, besides Garden by the Bay, Sentosa was actually the first venue to implement this framework. Now, some of you may be aware that TOPSIS has been implemented at checkpoints. How come Sentosa? Now, why Sentosa? Because later I'll show you there's this thing called TOPSIS 2.0. When we say Sentosa is the first, it refers to the inland, because we are talking about a border checkpoint. We call that the TOPSIS 1.0. Then there was a TOPSIS 2.0, and then Sentosa was actually the first to implement this framework. Okay, I will go into more details later on. Okay, of course, it has been rolled out progressively over the years, especially at all those more high traffic locations, high footfall locations. So this is one example. You Google or you do your ChatGPT now, you should be able to find it mentioned a few other locations, especially the religious one. You might have also read about it. Now, so that is one real example of organization implementing TOPSIS. Okay, so now let's jump in to understand more about TOPSIS. In the next probably another 45 minutes, I will give you a very concise overview of what TOPSIS is really all about. Okay, then you can decide whether you want to deep dive further to learn more about TOPSIS later on. Okay, now TOPSIS stands for what? Track-oriented passenger screening integrated system. Do you notice I pause for a while? Because you may then get confused. How come like person, passenger, and you look at the bottom of the screen there, there's a passenger to a person. Yes, indeed. Now, originally, TOPSIS was called track-oriented passenger screening. Now, why is it passenger? Because TOPSIS was implemented at the border checkpoint. Now, the people coming through all these checkpoints, they travel by air, the sea, the land. Now, these people crossing all these borders, basically they are passenger. So when this program was first implemented, it was targeted at all these passengers. Therefore, it's called track-oriented passenger screening integrated system. Okay, and it's a security enhancement program. What do we mean by security enhancement program? Now, for many organizations, they already have a security program in place. Example, they have the manpower, they got the infrastructures, they got the technology, they got processes, right? All these are the mainstream security program. Now, TOPSIS is meant to enhance this program. You see how it works. Later on, I will show you a diagram to give you an overview of how these TOPSIS fit into the larger scheme of your security program. Okay, but just take note that TOPSIS is an enhancement program, help you to enhance your security program. So if you're looking at how to enhance your existing security program, TOPSIS might be something you want to consider. Okay. Now, TOPSIS was originally conceptualized back in 2007, of course, by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it was subsequently implemented from 2009 for border checkpoints, as I mentioned, all the checkpoints. Example, airport, the Woodlands checkpoint, the Tuas checkpoint, okay, of course, then all the ferry terminals. Okay. Now, why did they target all these checkpoints? The main problem statement. So there's obviously a problem statement. The problem statement is there's a lot of people going through all these checkpoints, right? Now, in order to check all these people, you need to spend time to check them one by one. You do the screening, whether they carry any contraband items, right? Okay. Now, at a point when there's a heightened security, you are going to spend a lot more time to screen all these people. And what it means is going to slow down the people transiting through all these checkpoints. And it's not going to be good for the country. Okay, because if it's so slow, it's going to affect efficiency, operations, and it's going to affect our reputations. So that there need to be some form of balance. So therefore, this TOPSIS programs was developed to address this issue. Okay. And since 2009, they have been running it for many years. And according to the ministry, this program is quite successful. Okay, of course, later on I will share with you more details how it exactly works. But now understand it as an overview. Okay, and about 10 years later in 2018, TOPSIS is extended beyond the checkpoints to strengthen home front security. Beyond that means it's not just at the border checkpoints. Okay? It has gone inland. They call it inland. Okay, from the borders, they gone inland. Like the example I was sharing with you just now, the Garden by the Base is inland. Sentosa is inland. Okay, so they extend it to other organizations because they find this is a good program. So the bottom right hand corner there, you can see that small logo there. It's actually a TOPSIS logo. Just recognize that this is a TOPSIS logo. Organizations that have implemented this officially, you may find them displaying this logo. Okay, not I say the word officially. Later I'll explain more about officially or unofficially. Okay. Okay, so this development of TOPSIS was driven by Ministry of Home Affairs, as I just now I mentioned. Now, when we talk about MHA, there are various stakeholders. Of course, the main department driving it is Singapore Police Force, SPF. Then there are other departments, including the ICA, the transportations, various transportation ministry, the APOs, okay, and some of the commercial operators. So you can see there are many stakeholders involved here. Next, now this is another screen grab from the news. If you look closely at the picture there behind Josephine, okay, the minister Josephine there behind there, the banner shows TOPSIS Forum 2018. Now there's no longer a TOPSIS Forum these days. They already changed it to combine to another different platform already. But back then, TOPSIS was still quite standalone. Okay, TOPSIS Forum 2018 was held annually to invite all the TOPSIS organizations to attend, where they recognize the effort of the organization and they give awards to the individuals who have performed well in the course of their duties in detecting suspicious behavior and reporting those suspicious behavior. Okay, so at this event, it was announced the TOPSIS 2.0 was rolled out. Okay, so currently the TOPSIS 2.0 that we are aware of was implemented since 2018. Okay, so why TOPSIS? Next, let's move on to why TOPSIS. Okay. Now, it is an enhanced security screening system. Now, you notice the word is called enhanced screening system. So what are we screening for? We are screening for suspicious person, suspicious items. Okay. At the checkpoints, we'll see all those screening, right? Let's say, example, you go to the checkpoint X-ray machine, walk-through metal detector. Those are example of screening. Okay. Now, using TOPSIS, it actually enhances the screening process there. Now, how it works is it focuses on detecting intentions. The intention, which is the telltale indicators. What is intention? Okay, intention is what a person wants to do, intend to do. Okay, so like when a person look at an item, So if he never takes his eyes off the things, right, that means he might have some intention about that. He may, example, is interested in the items. He may want to buy the items. He may want to take the items, but he haven't act. But the fact that he keeps looking at it tells you that he's an intention. So this is one example of focusing on detecting the intentions of someone who is suspicious. Okay, is up to no good. Okay. So TOPSIS are one of key fundamental concept is about detecting TTIs. Okay, and TOPSIS leverage on both security and non-security personnel. Okay. Now, in many organizations, the number of security personnel is really very limited. So let's take example, Temasek Polytechnic. Some of you are aware of how these polytechnics are set up. You can see when we go to a polytechnic, you only see a few security officers, security personnel around. They probably may be deployed at some of the key points like a guardhouse, okay, a fire command center, and you may see some of them patrolling around. Okay, barely dozens of them. I would say maybe 10, 12 of them in most of these big, large institutions. You won't see 40, 50 security officers, unlike in the foreign countries, some places, our nearby neighbors. Some of these places, example, Indonesian Batam. Now, you will see, example, even just for shopping mall, you will see one security personnel at every single entrance and exit, and they may even deploy a walk-through metal detector there. Okay, in Singapore, our contexts are quite different. We probably cannot afford that because many of you are aware of the PWM, progressive wage model. It is expensive to engage deploy so many security officers. So therefore, security personnel is really call it a scarce resource. Okay, you won't see many of them. Now, if you take this small number of security officers, let's say 10, you compare in proportion to the number of students and staff in the polytechnic, let's say 5,000. 10 out of 5,000. It's really a very small percentage. So the question is it enough to rely on just the 10 security officers? Of course, we will say we have CCTV cameras, we got other security measures in place. Yes, it's true. But if these students, these staff are all on site, with enough 5,000, 6,000 of them walking around, they got the eyes, they got the ears, why not leverage on them? Okay, so that is exactly what TOPSIS is about. Okay, now most of these people are walking or working in this place and they are familiar with the environment. So when something that is not right, they are probably the first to be aware of it. Okay, so therefore, if you leverage on these people, I think it will be very effective to help to ensure the entire place is more secure. Okay. So primarily, what we want to do is we want these people to identify person of interest or threat-oriented person. So what is person of interest? Person of interest is someone who you are interested to find out more about them. It could be just someone who has just walked past carrying a big bag, wearing a cap, sunglass, person of interest. Okay, so typically we will start off with, oh, there's a person of interest, POI, walking over here because he dressed very baggy and then he was like loitering. Okay, then you want to conduct further checks. Well, once you conduct further checks, you find that he have exhibited more TTIs, then you may want to consider him as a TOP already. Okay, in a way we can call it like escalate up. On the POI now, they call a threat-oriented person. That means you see something more suspicious in him already. Then of course you may want to take further actions. Okay. So generally, we are looking at a POI or TOP top. Now, it may even be you jump straight to a TOP because he may straight away exhibit some of the very suspicious behavior. Okay. Now, what we want to do is once we have detected a TOP, we want to subject the top, this TOP top, for enhanced security checks. What do we mean by enhanced security check? It could be during security questioning, SQ. Now, SQ is another important element in this TOPSIS program. Okay, now TOPSIS also have got when we say enhanced security checks, we may also use other means, example like technology screening to check the bags of the person. Okay, now by doing this enhanced check, the purpose is actually to increase the detection of the means of assault. So what is the means of assault? Okay, MOA. Means of assault means any means, like example, weapons, okay, ID, okay, all this you can use it for assault. So if you can find a means of assault, what does it mean? Then that means that there could be an intention of this person trying to launch an attack. So why do a person want to, in his possession, have an ID? Why does a person in his possession have a weapon? Okay, so he might have an intention. Okay, he might. So the key word is he might. Okay, so we want to pick up this means of assault first, then we can subject this person to further checks. It can either be through further questioning or refer to the authorities for further investigations. Okay, so that is a concept of this TOPSIS. Okay. Now, TOPSIS is like a risk management system. From another perspective, it is a risk management system. Why is it risk management system? Now, you notice, I give one very good example is at the MRT stations. You probably have noticed that at the MRT stations, you have this security screening checkpoint. Okay, not all the MRT stations have. Okay, it is a mobile screening checkpoint, okay, at the MRT stations, where you will typically see 3 to 4 security officers deployed there with the X-ray machines, and then a few officers will be stationed there and to direct passengers to be screened randomly. You cannot be screening everyone. If you screen everyone, you probably need to have many screening lanes, right? So it's not going to be efficient. So it's random now. So what does we mean by random? That means, example, out of 10, you select one. You screen the person. Okay, so if the person, if he got something suspicious, okay, good, then maybe you can detect. But then the question is, what happened to the 9? So by checking 1 and letting go of 9, this itself is a risk. Oh, then the question is, why don't you screen all? So this is where we talk about striking a balance between efficiency and security, which was the original concept of this TOPSIS, which I mentioned just now at all the checkpoint there. If you want to check everyone to the same level of 100%, then it's going to be very long queue. Okay, so we need to strike a balance. So what we are seeing at the MRT station is a classical example of this. It is a risk management system. The people who you select to check, okay, there's a higher chance of detecting them. Any people that you don't pick them out, then you may miss them now. Okay, so how do they do the selection? You have to depend on some factors, example like TTIs. Are there specific TTIs? Or maybe they do random. Okay, every few people they will have to check, because not all people got the TTIs. So TTIs, you does it mean that you don't check? No, so there could be some system that the respective organization have to put in place. Now this is really very useful for crowded places like the MRT station I just mentioned. Okay, you're going to see the peak hours in the morning. It is really very crowded. Okay. So of course you can do it at other places, even hotels, high level security events. Okay, so there are many places. Now further to that, how TOPSIS works. You can look at this flow. Okay. Now first you have to flag up the threat-oriented person. Okay, flag up means somebody must report. Someone spot this TOP first. Okay. Now once you spot the person already, they got TTIs. Somebody just I was mentioning, they carry a bulky bag, then behaving suspiciously, maybe even taking pictures of basically cameras there. You spotted the person, then you subject the person to checks. Okay, you ask for the person to go to one side and then conduct checks on their belongings, or maybe with their companions. Okay, if they have someone with them, may conduct checks on both of them. Okay, now all this flagging of the person, okay, conducting checks, need to be done through a proper communication channel. Okay, so it could be by radio communications, by phone, okay, internally. So the organization need to set up some form of a communication protocol, because this flagging out the TOP could be by the non-security communities. So one example could be, the cleaners. The cleaners saw someone who behaves suspiciously in the toilet, you know, then he can go up and whether he call the security directly or he call his supervisor. So this depend on the organization, what is the setup lah. So this is what we mean by there need to be established communication protocol. Okay, so this is an important factor because if the non-security community on the ground do not know who to report, who to call, what number to call, then they will just say forget it lah. So troublesome. That's not my job anyway, correct? So it's very important that the organization that's implementing this TOPSIS need to address this communication or escalation path lah. Okay. So once it's reported to the security or the authority or the police or this, then of course there could be more checks. So in this case here, the picture show if you have if some organization may have all these explosive trace detector or this, then you can subject them to enhanced check. Okay, yeah. So you don't want to use this slipper for every single one, right? Okay, of course, if your organization can afford, as example, I have went to one data center before. Data center don't have a lot of people like MRT station. You probably in a day you have maybe 50, less than 50, or even less than 100 people going to the data center over a period of many hours. So you can afford to do a more enhanced check for every single one. Now, if you can afford to do that, to me, by all means, go ahead to do it. Then you will have a very tight security that if you need to, like a data center. Okay, so I went to one before that. Exactly is what they do. They check everyone to the enhanced level. Every single one will go there. They check it to the enhanced level. Okay, if that is not an issue, okay, with the clearance. But in places where you need to have efficiency of clearance, you cannot do this object for every single one. So therefore, we need to apply this TOPSIS program. We need to do selectively. Only those you spotted one with TTIs, okay, we channel them for enhanced check. Now, this is actually to increase the detection rate. At the same time, we ensure the flow is efficient. Okay, so that's a key concept. Now, to help you and understand the TOPSIS better, there are three key components. Just remember, if you are going to implement TOPSIS, or when you look at an organization, whether they have TOPSIS or not, look for these few things. Now, firstly is the TTI detection. I already mentioned earlier on TTI detection. TTI detection is very important here. Okay, it's not just for the security. You need to train the non-security community because it is really the eyes and ears. The detection, you look at it, is based on the sensors. The sensors of the eyes, the ears, maybe even the smell, the feel, all these things to help them to pick up suspicious behavior. So detection is the most important one. Then second one, we talk about involve all communities and multiple layers. Okay, not just security. Okay, and thirdly, we look at the better use of technologies, existing technology. So the keyword is looking at existing technologies. Okay, so let me deep dive further. Okay. So for TTI detection, called telltale indicator. Sometimes we call it telltale signs or suspicious behaviors or these. But in TOPSIS program, we use TTIs. Okay. Examples of TTIs are loitering, avoiding eye contact, wearing a hood, wearing a bulky bag, all these things. Okay, so these are some of the commonly referred to TTIs. But of course, some of you may say, hey, it doesn't mean you wear bulky clothing is suspicious. No, it's not correct. These days, a lot of people also wear thick clothing or this. How can you say he wear thick clothing, he's suspicious? Exactly, you're right. Okay, you're right. Okay, many of them, they are right. Now, so what is important now, we go one step further. We do contextualize TTI. What is contextualized TTI? You need to contextualize to the environment. Okay, so if you're in an environment which is cold, aircon room, okay, you wear thick jacket, all this, actually it's normal. But you wear the thick jacket, you walk out outdoor, hot sun, maybe that is more abnormal. Right? Why you wear a thick jacket, wear a hood under the hot sun? you know, where everybody is wearing loose clothing because it's so hot, so hot. Okay, but it does not mean this guy is a terrorist. Doesn't mean now there could be reasons why he's doing that. Okay, maybe for some reasons he not feeling well. He just want to cover himself. He's sick. It's still very cold. Even though outside is hot, he still want to wear it. Okay, so you have to find out. But that is a TTI, telltale signs that he is abnormal. Abnormal doesn't mean he's really a bad guy, but it is just an indicator to tell us, hey, maybe you want to check him, okay, to find out more about him, okay. So in order for us to establish all these contextualized TTIs, we need to understand how the TTI are created, especially in the context of the environment. Why do people behave in certain way? Okay, in a very tense environment, okay, you will notice people are all very tense one. Okay, like on the road, when you peak hours, everybody is very tense one. Okay, because people are all rushing for work. Okay, so that's why they drive very fast, they horn, and they get very angry, you know. Whereas in a very different environment, maybe you are going to a resort, okay, going there for holiday, you'll be more relaxed, you are not in a hurry. So the mood of the people driving there, you see, are very different, more relaxed, they are more understanding. Okay, you come my lane, you know, I let you go first, you know, it could be that. But of course, we also have seen when even you know when we go up north, go JB, right? You go for holiday, people will say cut lane here, cut lane there. They get very angry, then they start to get into road rage. Now, why it happened that? Now, if again you try to understand how these TTIs are created is because now all these checkpoints there because of the jam, the queue, the waiting time, it causes a lot of tension there. So people get impatient. When you get impatient, your emotion get high lah. Okay, so little things oh, you don't give way to me, you know. Wow, why you like that? You know, then they stare at each other, then suddenly accidentally brush against each other, then issues can happen. So these are examples of understanding the creation of TTIs. You need to contextualize it into your environment because all the environments can be different. So in the Temasek Poly, you know, it's an institution, the behavior there could be very different from maybe a construction site, from a commercial building is very different. So the organization, the person who is in charge of this TOPSIS program, when they roll this up, there is something they want to identify. Why you want to identify this is because then you can help to communicate some of these traits to the community there, both security and non-community, to train them. Okay. So let's move on to next slide. So what I consider as TTI, let me give you some examples here. Okay. Just look at the picture. See whether you recognize this picture or not. Okay, so it looks like a marathon. Yes. Okay, you have seen this. Obviously, it's a marathon, and question is which marathon, right? If you are thinking Boston Marathon, you're right. And this is the Boston Marathon bombing, and you can see the two circles there. These are the two guys. Okay, they planted the IED there, lah. Okay, so of course this happened back in like 2013, right? Okay, so they planted the bag there with the ID, the pressure cooker ID, and then exploded and killed scores of people. So the question is, are you able to detect someone who is suspicious there? Are you able to pick out or not? I know. Of course, some will say, oh, because they wear jacket, they wear thick clothing there, whereas other people dress more relaxed. But sometimes people can argue. And then the lady in front there also looks suspicious because three of them are all looking at the same direction and the way they dress are similar, no? Then the lady is also one of the terrorists. That's why it's not so easy, but it can give you some signs, telltale signs, some telltale indicators. Okay. Look at the red color word here. Now, one of the key words here we want to highlight is called deviations. Okay, now because the important thing is you must know how to train communicate this concept to your community. It's not enough just the security manager, the security team know about all this concept. You must make it understandable. The community must understand how to apply this. So some of the basic concepts are like deviation. Okay, some form of deviation. What is different? Anything that is different. Oh, my friend, my colleague usually come in very cheerful, very happy, will greet good morning. This morning he come in, never greet, no. They just walk, no. Never smile. This is an example of deviation. So you need to know the norm first. Once you are able to establish the norm, you will know what is deviation. Okay. So from here you'll see, therefore, the people who works in the environment, the same workplace, they are the best people to understand what is normal. And then from there, they can find out what deviates. So that then help them to detect TTIs. Okay, so that is the basis, the concept behind this TOPSIS. Look at this picture. Okay, sure, within a few seconds, you can spot what is the TTI. Can you all see? Okay, I believe most of you, if not all of you, should be able to see. Now, all these are cats. You can see, obviously, it's cats. Got different color. Of course, some of you may say, some are brown, some are black. Yeah, okay. So there's two already, two groups are the color there, right? But what is the most outstanding one among all is the one right in the center there is the big cat. Although it looks a bit small size here, but you can see the body, the spots, all those is slightly different from the other small cats. So obviously the one that is in the center is the tiger. Okay. Now, how do you consider as TTIs? That's how I already mentioned what the keyword is. Find out what's the deviation. What is deviation from the norm? Okay, so there is a guideline. So a simple guideline called AISU to help you to train your people, to train your security or non-security people. Tell them what is abnormal. So of course they must know what's normal first. So normal, then what's abnormal. Normal is my colleague always smile, greet me, good morning. Now today abnormal, never smile, never greet good morning. Okay, then it can be also irregular. Irregular is what? The shape of the things are irregular. Okay, strange. Okay, now strange could be sometimes you gut feel lah. Okay, it's a strange smell. Okay, something is strange in the air. Okay, something strange about the environment. Okay, the other one is usual and unusual lah. Usually you come at 8 a.m. Today it's quite unusual that you come at 9 a.m. There are some reasons. Okay, so these are some of the simple examples to explain. But the best way is to contextualize it for the environment, for the community lah. Example, if tackling the cleaners, you want to train the cleaners, you need to tell the cleaners. Now, usually in the toilet, because that's one of the place they clean. People won't leave behind things. Okay, so usually people who go and use the toilet after they use it already, they will take their things down. So when they spot things that is left inside the toilet, either people forgot, so it become like a lost and found. Okay, so that is the usual case. But it can also be the case of someone suspicious trying to leave something, like example IED inside the toilet. So they need to be trained to look out for some of these telltale indicators, telltale signs. Okay, so example, how come the cubicle is locked and then you found something inside there? So this is something very suspicious, or large luggage, with some wires sticking out, some bags with wires sticking out. These are some suspicious telltale indicators. Okay, so they can be trained on this and they will be able to help to report when they spot some of these things. Okay, so what is not considered TDI? Important that we don't use culture, religious, ethic indicators. Belief system and types of worships are not the issues. It's not because you are with certain religion or you have certain belief, then you stereotype them. Okay. Now the key important thing to take note is their behavior. their intent. What do they intend to do? How do they behave? Are they loitering? Do they do certain things? Are they trying to open the doors? So that is the main gauge we use to assess these people. Okay, not racial profiling. Okay. Okay, so just now I use the word called profiling. So sometimes we also call this TOPSIS program profiling. So it's not wrong. Somebody may already be thinking, hey, is this a profiling system? Yeah, we can call it a predictive profiling. Okay, how do we profile? So we profile based on TTI. Okay, not on just now I mentioned those racial. So we profile based on TTI. Okay, so TTI or suspicious behavior. Someone who is, example, trying to open the door, trying to loiter around. Now we are actually predicting their behavior. We are predicting that they are trying to, example, gain unauthorized entry. Okay, I commonly like to give these examples. I used to like to jog around my neighborhood. Sometimes when I jog past condominium, condominium is a gated community. They got the fence, then they got the side doors. Sometimes I use the condominium, the entire perimeter, I jog around it. Okay, I jog like a few rounds there, and I always pass by the same spot there. Sometimes when I jog past it, I still see people standing there and looking there, looking out here, and then just standing there, what is going to do. If they're resident here, they are legitimate, then likely they could have the authorized access to go in. Okay, but many a times they are not going to be various reasons. Okay, now you can in a way already predict that these people have some intention there, standing outside the door. Okay, there are some intention, but what are the intention? I ever come across a case where I was jogging, someone actually stopped me. Are you staying here? Can you open the door for me? You see, so there are such intention which is actually usually can be easily detected. And in many cases, I have observed that when the gate open, these people standing outside will make an attempt to gain access before the gate close. Okay, so from here you can see all these profiling, predictive profiling. But there could also be a case the person standing outside there is just waiting for someone to come out. They are not trying to do bad things, gain unauthorized entry. They are just standing outside waiting for their friends to come out and then maybe to go somewhere else. Okay. But because if you are able to do this profiling detection, let's say the security officer in the guardhouse there, they detect people standing by there, standing outside there, what they can do is to start paying attention to these people. If they don't come in, good lah. Okay. But if they suddenly walk in, okay, or tailgate in, they can respond immediately. Okay. So generally, TTI detection can be observed by someone who is very attentive or experienced. Okay, so we have to train people to be attentive. Look out for things. We will tell people look out for things when you go to a place. Look out for the environment. If people are attentive, usually they may be able to pick up the deviations. So this is what we want to train them. Okay, and it is actually a skill. You can think of this TTI detection like cycling. Okay, over time we are better at detecting deviation, different things. Okay. So even for new officers, new personnel, it can train them. Okay. Can be operationalized as effective tools. Okay, that means operationalize means you implement it on the ground. You train them already, then you get the people to be on the ground to start detecting. Now, these detection things can create a form of deterrence. Because for suspicious person, they will be noting, how come like people are looking at me? So there could be some form of deterrence. Okay. Now, benefits of TTI detections, you'll be wondering, is it going to be expensive implementing this program? Now, the cost mainly comes in the forms of training. I'll say soft skills training. That's what I mentioned, learning how to observe, look for TTI, soft skills. These are basically soft skills, you train them. It can be through a classroom training and then let them go on the ground to practice it. Okay, there's actually a strategy, okay, approach to train these people, to test them. Okay, in short, basically it's a red teaming program. Some of you are familiar with red teaming. We actually use red teaming to test those people trained in TOPSIS. Okay. Versus hardware measures. Now, hardware measures means you can put in X-ray machine, CCTV, cameras, all these. So TOPSIS mainly focus on soft skills, training people rather than implementing all those hardwares. And it do not inconvenience patrons. Why I say it do not inconvenience, like in the MRT example, MRT station example, you will only pick up random people or those people at TTIs. Then the rest of the 9 out of the 10 people will just continue to walk. But it's a risk, as I say, it's a risk management system. Okay, so you have to balance it. Okay, unless if a high threat, then it's up to the organization to say, oh, I want to do 100%. Or in the case of data center, they can afford that. Then they can do 100% screening. Okay, now this TOPSIS program is effective for both terrorist and crime detections because it's just detecting suspicious behavior, which can exhibit by both the terrorists and the criminals. Okay, now so if your locations, your site has this TOPSIS program implemented, there could be a good chance it deters hostile reconnaissance because they may notice that people are very friendly. It can be as simple as the staff are very approachable, very friendly, but they approach them, say, sir, how may I help you? Once you step into a place, they start approaching them, then the attacker may feel that they have been spotted already. So this may deter them from doing further things. Okay, categories of TTIs are now to further help the non-communities to differentiate, to spot TTIs. We have this thing called ABCD. Okay, guide them to say, look out for the appearance and behavior. How do they look like? What do they wear? Are they tall, short? Okay, how do they dress? What were they doing? The behavior. So there's the A. Then the B is belongings. What do they carry? Okay, do they carry a bag? Okay, luggage. How does it look like? How big is the bag? Is there telltale indicators in the bag? And C is who are they? Companion. Are they with a group of a men? Or are they with a family? Are they a couple? Okay. So then all these things, remember, need to contextualize. Okay, so if you go to a theme park there, so who are the people normally there? What kind of a profile of the people? Okay, or you go to a childcare center outside there. What are the profile of people who are hanging around outside the childcare center? Some shopping mall they got whole floor of all these childcare center. So the people that will be hanging around there, who are the profile of these people? They usually will be like father, mother, or even their grandparents, the kind of profile of people there. So if you suddenly see a group of 3-4 men, okay, hanging around there, this profile looks a bit different, then you may pay attention. Okay, they could be example, a contractor doing work there. That's why the profile slightly different. But this helps you to differentiate lah. Okay, they may not be the one, but at least you spot them. Okay, that is different. Lastly is the D documents. What kind of documents do they carry? Okay, so here we are talking about, it could be any documents, document to work, a permit to work, all these things. Is there anything that is suspicious? Now, so for ABCD, you apply the TTI inside here. So you look for the AISU, anything abnormal, irregular, okay, suspicious, or unusual in all these things. Is there anything that is unusual about the documents? Okay, is there anything that's strange about this group of people that is together? Is the size of the bag, the thing that they're carrying, irregular or not? Okay, so you list the ABCD and look for the TTIs. Okay, now that's one. So I spent a lot of time on that because that is actually very important. Okay, the last two is very short. Okay, involve all communities, basically involve the people in organizations, especially the non-security community, because they form a large proportion of the community there. The example I gave you, the Temasek Poly, say you have 10 security officers, but you got 5,000 students and staff. That's quite a significant. So should leverage on them, involve all these people. So you need to look at how to involve them. Now, you may even need to break down further. Students is another group. Let's say student is 4,500, then the staff, all these are 500. There could be different training given to all these people. Okay. So all these people will then become the eyes and ears on the ground. You can imagine every one of these person is like a CCTV cameras that can walk around, or mobile cameras. Okay. So you enhance your overall security, and this create additional layers for you, for your organizations. Okay, now some of these people could be front of house, back of house, in the office, in classrooms. Okay, so you can see they are all almost everywhere. Okay, so the third one is the better use of technologies. Now, this is talking about using your existing technologies. TOPSIS do not require you to implement new additional technologies. If you don't have all these walk-through metal detector, handheld metal detector, X-ray, it's okay. Don't need to be because you implement TOPSIS, you must go and buy this. But if you have this, the question is, can you make better use of it? Okay, do you want to screen everyone? Example, I go back to the data center example. Do you want to screen everyone or do you just want to screen those with TTI? Okay, so it really up to the organization. So you make better use of the technologies. Okay, so this is another very useful one. Okay, I'm coming to the end already. There's another few more minutes. This is last two slides already. This is another very useful slide to give you an overview. Now, I've been so far talking about the concept, but it's actually based on the 3R, the top one. Detection of TTI is actually recognition. Okay, now once recognized, you need to report. How do we report? You need to have a communication protocol. So this first 2R is actually focused on the non-security community. Okay, now we want them to do this 2R. Now the third R, the last one, resolve is handled by the security personnel or the authorities. Okay, so our TOPSIS program is made up of this 3R framework. Okay, and below that, we break it down to a bit more details on the 4-step behavior analysis process. Okay, so you notice here we say behavior lah. So we are looking at the actions, the TTI lah. So there's actually two parts, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is passive. Passive means you just observe only. You don't need to do anything. Okay, active means you have to engage, engage the top or the POI. Okay, so for part 1 passive, what you do, okay, there are 4 steps. First step, you must first establish baseline. So you need to train the people, say, hey, what's your environment like? The toilet usually empty, baseline. And then scan for TTI. TTI is, hey, inside the toilet, suddenly there's additional items inside there. Hey, how come on the wall there's an additional item mounted on the wall there? There's a bag there. So this is the deviation. Scan for TTI, scan for deviation. Okay, so from there, if you pick up something, you report. Now, resolve, what you can do is engagement interview. Now, the engagement interview here, we are talking about SQ. Some of you may be familiar with the word called security questioning. Now, the security questioning, there are certain techniques that is used, which we will train the security personnel on how to ask questions to determine whether the TTIs are confirmed or not. Okay, or maybe through the security questioning, you find out more TTIs, that means it's more suspicious. Okay, now through this engagement, you may also do your enhanced screening. Like just now I mentioned, you want to do the back checks, you want to do your explosive trace detector, no? All these things may come in at this stage there, no? Okay, finally, the last step is a resolution. Now, resolution means you confirm, no, whether is it suspicion or not. If you check already, you confirm, no, he's got a valid reason to be there and he's not really suspicion, then you close case. But if you find that the TTI is still there and you find that you are not satisfied with the answer, you may want to escalate. Escalate may involve calling the authority, calling the police to come in. Okay, so this is a very high level concept there. Okay, so lastly, one last slide I want to share about this concept. Now, just now I was mentioning the enhancement program. Now, this diagram is developed by Center for Protective Security. Just now I mentioned CPS, which is a department under Singapore Police Force. They have this protective security framework. So on the left-hand side, the TBI, we call it the stage 1. Okay, stage 1 there. Okay, you do the TBI. After that, in stage 2, you will do your mitigation measures. Your manpower, your infrastructure, your technologies, your processes are there. But you'll notice there is a enhancement program on top. Then there's a word called TOPSIS there. Okay, so this is actually the phase 2 part. Now, of course, the stage 3 is the quality assurance, where you have the red teaming and the audit. So you can see here in this overall picture in the framework, TOPSIS is actually one part of it to help you to enhance the program. Of course, if you are going to design, implement a security framework, yours may be slightly different from here, but the key concept is here, like you can see what you can adapt from here into your organization security framework. Okay, or even to follow this entire one will be good. Okay, so that is actually my last slide of information about TOPSIS. Now, some of you may want to, let's say you want to review some of this information. You can actually scan this QR code. I have a video on YouTube. It's a short 7-8 minutes. You can watch over it. You can share with your colleagues. And let's say you want to do TOPSIS training. If you already have some TOPSIS program, you can actually play this short video. It's an overview of what is TOPSIS. Of course, what I cover here is more than what is covered in the short video was a few minutes. Okay, but you can watch this video also. Okay. Any quick questions? Let me just do a check. Okay, quick question. Oh, so okay, so now whether you want to, let's say you want to implement TOPSIS program here, or you want to implement overseas, you can duplicate the whole system, okay? But of course, it's good to start off the TOPSIS program locally first, because if this is where you are based in, you start off the TOPSIS implementation here, set up the policies, the programs here first, then you duplicate it overseas is easier. Okay, so one of you asked this question. Then, of course, importantly, another question some people was asking, so this program belongs to the police force, right? Is it? Yeah, so the answer is yes. Now, just now the logo I show you, that logo belongs to CPS. So you cannot just go and use it and then paste in your program and say TOPSIS. So you don't use the logo. Okay. But you can use the word called TOPSIS. Now, CPS has for them, they roll out this TOPSIS 2.0. Their idea is they want more people to implement this TOPSIS. Okay, you are free to use all these materials, except of course those logo. So when can you use their logo? Now, CPS actually officially go to some organizations. They train them. In fact, they have a 5 days program. Okay, but of course, it's not easy to get into those programs. It's prioritized for government agencies and selected organizations. They attend the 5 days program, and then CPS will handhold them to implement this. But that could be a very stressful experience, because I understand some organizations have gone through that process. They really will scrutinize how you do it. Okay, now the alternative to that is to attend another program which we have curated. Now this is run by SII. That's how I mentioned I actually doing training with Temasek Poly. Okay, so we have a 2 days program. In fact, we run this almost every quarterly. The upcoming one is on the 23rd and 24th of March. It will be conducted at Temasek Polytechnic. Now, basically, I'll be covering what I shared in the last 1 hour in more deep dive, especially on the component about SQ. So today, I don't have time to share about the techniques used for security questioning. The SQ can be taught to your security personnel. Okay, you can scan the QR code, take a picture of this. Okay, the pricing is subsidized. If you are a Singaporean or PR, you can see it's a subsidized rate. Okay, so any other key questions? I'm mindful of the timing. Okay, we are left with 1 minute. Let me just quickly show you the last slide, and then I'm going to end this session now. Okay, so I have another upcoming webinar. It's already opened up for registration. Okay, you can go back to the achieversbank.ig there. Okay, anyway, I'll be sharing on my LinkedIn. If some of you connect with me already, you can look out for my post. Okay, so the upcoming next webinar is on 13th of February. Obviously, by now, you should be very familiar with this picture, Alex. Right, I'm sure many of you in the last 1 week, we have been watching. If you have a Netflix, you can watch how Alex climbed the Taipei 101. Now, I will be sharing a bit about this in the contextualized threat vulnerability and risk assessment, contextualized to the risk of climbing this Taipei 101 and the risk of failing. Okay, I will contextualize it to our TBRA. Okay, so I will talk about risk. Okay, and I will talk about TBRA and the different TBR models in this 1 hour. Okay, so to register for this event. Okay, so with that, I will end today's session. Thank you for staying with me throughout this 1 hour. Okay, I hope you find this useful. Okay, thank you everyone, and good night. Have a